So today, we're going to dive into the incredible memoir of Wur Deng, a survivor of Sudan's Civil War. His story, it's just this profound journey through unbelievable loss, but also about the sheer power of the human will to live. Let's walk through the key moments that really define his path, from just surviving to truly triumphing.
And Luth kicks things off with this incredibly powerful idea right from the start. For him, war isn't about winning or losing, it's about what everyone loses. And that one thought, that one single idea shaped his entire story.
So, that idea of universal loss, for him, it gets deeply, deeply personal. And we have to begin where his story does, on what he calls the trail of loss.
I mean, this one sentence just says it all, doesn't it? He remembers a life that was full of joy and food and family, a totally normal childhood that was just completely shattered by the violence. The contrast is absolutely devastating.
And then you see this number, 5. It's just brutally simple. That is how many of his immediate family members Luth lost to the war. Both of his parents and 3 of his brothers. An unimaginable tragedy, just distilled into a single digit.
And here's the tragic irony of where he's from. He was born in a region that was rich with oil, a place that should have been prosperous. But that wealth, it never brought peace. Instead, it just became a magnet for conflict, fueling the very war that tore his entire life apart.
You have to understand, this loss wasn't just a one-time thing. It was the beginning of a long, harrowing journey. A journey that was defined by fear and just total uncertainty.
Just look at this timeline. It really puts the sheer scale of his journey into perspective. He fled his home as a boy, back in 1985. It then took him almost 20 years to finally reach the United States and start over. And from there, he just poured himself into education, eventually earning a master's degree. A 3-decade journey of survival and rebuilding.
This next quote is, honestly, it's haunting. He talks about this powerful internal drive to survive, but at the same time, it felt like they were completely abandoned. A silence from any higher power, and a silence from the rest of the world that just seemed to ignore their cries for help.
And you can see how that feeling of being abandoned would lead you to ask some huge existential questions, right? This isn't just some abstract thought, it's a question that was forged in the fire of just unimaginable suffering. When you see humanity at its absolute worst, where do you even begin to look for a sense of divine justice?
But this is where the story pivots. This is where he shifts from being a victim of his circumstances to becoming the author of his own survival. It's a refusal to be weak in his soul.
And this right here, this is the moment everything changes. He fully acknowledges the darkness of his past. He calls them dark shadows that follow me. But then he makes a conscious choice. He decides to be happy. And he sees happiness not as something you earn, but as a priceless gift he could just give to himself.
I mean, what a statement, right? This is his declaration of independence from that past. In a world that took literally everything from him, he claims an inner wealth that no one could ever touch. He refuses to be defined as poor, especially in his spirit. It's an absolutely incredible statement of self-worth.
Something else happened on this journey. It fundamentally changed him. Before the war, his whole world was defined by his tribe, the Zheng. But being forced out into the world, meeting so many different people and cultures, it completely transformed his identity. He no longer sees himself through that single lens. He's multicultural.
Okay, so this all brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful part of his story. The ultimate lesson he learned about the absolute power of choice. It all boils down to this one simple, powerful idea. In any situation, no matter how terrible, you have a fundamental choice. You can choose light over dark, peace over war, hope over fear. And this isn't some naive optimism. This is a hard-won philosophy for survival.
And then he makes it personal. He takes that philosophy and turns it into a series of powerful declarations. In a world filled with hate, he says, I chose love.
After a lifetime defined by war, he makes another deliberate choice. I chose peace.
And finally, after all that suffering, he reclaims the one thing that was always his to give himself. I chose happiness. Each one is a defiant act of will. And after all that, he leaves us with this, silence. It's a choice, a profound, deliberate peace that stands in stark contrast to that deafening silence of abandonment he felt during the war. This is a silence of his own making.
So, in the end, Wur Deng Luth's story isn't just about what happened to him. It really leaves us with this question. It forces you to look inward and really think about it. Where does that human resilience, that strength to choose hope in the face of absolute darkness, actually come from? That's a powerful thought to end on.